Calling to order the Monday, June 20th, 2022 regular meeting of the 39th Council of the City of Berkeley. Ms. Mitchell, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dean.
Here.
Councilmember Gavin.
Here.
Councilmember Hennon.
Here.
Councilmember Price.
Here.
Councilmember Villani.
Here.
Mayor Tribrack.
For our first order of business is the approval of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Villani with support from Councilmember Baker. Are there any changes or additions? Seeing none, Ms. Mitchell, please call the roll.
Baker.
Yes.
Gavin.
Yes.
Hennon.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Villani.
Yes.
Dean.
Yes. The agenda has been approved. At this time, please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. With us tonight is Rabbi Matt Zerwig. Sorry.
Thank you very much for inviting me. God of all generations, Makor, Bracha, Umkor Chaim, source of blessing and source of life. We begin with words of thanks and praise to you who has enabled us to reach this time and place and brought us to be with one another this evening as we gather to be reminded of the power of people unified in purpose. We know that this imperfect world reflects the beautiful imperfection of humanity and that it would be foolish to pray for a world fully repaired of its flaws. God, we don't pray this evening for a perfect world or perfect humanity. We merely pray tonight for your partnership in guiding the steps of this council as you help them on their way to serving the people faithfully. Empower within us the knowledge that our voices can be used as tools for change, weapons for good. Guide all of those in our communities to act so that our voices can be heard loudly and clearly, and so that the ideals of our elected officials mirror the ideals of our community. Encourage us to expect of our elected leaders to put aside politics, pettiness, pride, or perceived differences, to work to truly tackle with thoughtfulness and compassion all of the matters that truly impact their constituents. And we ask you this evening to bless our city, county, state, and country with your presence and the knowledge that the path to drawing closer to you is found through deep relationships with one another, to appreciate one another, that to draw closer to our neighbors and fellow humans, every human, whomever they love, however they pray, those made in your divine image, is to draw closer to you. Amen.
Amen. And now, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we're moving into our public comments portion of the meeting. Per our normal rules and procedures, these are public comments for items that are not on tonight's agenda. You will have the opportunity to speak on a specific agenda item while it is being considered. Remember, council members will not engage in discussion, but if your concern needs to be addressed by a member of city staff or department, please sign in at the clerk's desk. When you come up to the microphone, please state your name and city of residence. Again, this is for items not included on tonight's agenda. You may certainly express your opinions, but personal attacks will not be tolerated. Please refrain from showing support or opposition. I want to make sure that everyone who wants to speak will have a chance to do so. So no applause, please. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Once your 3 minutes are up, I will ask you to please return to your seat. You may speak one time. You may not give your time to anyone else. We have a timer on display on the TV screens up here so that you may accurately gauge your time. Councilmember Hennon has asked to begin public comments, so he will be up first. Councilmember Hennon?
Thank you. In regards to my previous comments concerning this Sunday's Pride Party, I want to thank you for sharing your thoughts and experiences with me leading up to tonight. And I want to again apologize for the hurt that I've caused. Since many, if not all of you, have probably already seen the apology I posted last week, I won't repeat it up here now. But if not, I ask that you please seek it out or reach out to me directly. But I want to reiterate, I need to learn to speak with more compassion, to reach out to more people when making decisions, and to keep my religious views separate from government policy. Again, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll open public comments up to the floor now.
My name is Tanya Thoman. I'm a Berkeley resident. Approximately 25 years ago, I was working at a high school in Ann Arbor, and I was a faculty sponsor for the Gay Straight Alliance. I was out to staff, students, and families. We read in between the lines newspaper that Berkeley High School was denied starting a club of their own. The school board did not think it was appropriate at that time. Perhaps collectively they felt as one of our elected city council members does. I remember saying to my aunt, who was a teacher in Berkeley at that time, that I would never teach in Berkeley because of the discrimination I was watching take place in the news. The ACLU and Equality Michigan became involved in the fight on behalf of the students, and eventually a school district saw their way to justice, and Bridges Gay Straight Alliance, or GSA, was formed. Upon my aunt's request, I did interview for a position in Berkeley at Anderson Middle School. It was a lesson for me in never say never, because when I became a Berkeley school district teacher in 2003, I hired in, and the Berkeley School District had no non-discrimination policy that included sexual orientation or gender expression, nor did they offer same-sex partner benefits. I promptly went back into the closet, afraid to share with my students and their families who I truly am. When I married my wife, the staff at Anderson, who typically celebrated weddings and births, were mute. Eventually, the school district grew to include non-discrimination clauses, and the federal government assured that my marriage was treated as all others. But in Michigan, it is still legal to deny housing and to fire an employer for their sexual orientation or gender expression. Many, many people do not realize this, as most progressive employers have made changes to contracts and to mission statements for their companies. I was pleased beyond measure last year when our city council voted unanimously to designate a Pride Month. I knew that with that good press, no one would be saying, "I'll never," about the city I've been proud to live in for nearly 20 years. I was pleased that our city did not require intervention from outside agencies to help our city government do the right thing for our residents in the way that our school district required so many years ago. Imagine my surprise to learn that Councilmember Hennon recently voted against the Pride event. Perhaps he has not had to face discrimination or does not fear losing a job. His bold declaration of faith, in spite of clear expectations of separation of church and state, leaves me concerned that he will be unable to serve without bias toward all citizens of Berkeley. I worry about the messages being sent to the students at Berkeley High School and our other schools who are a generation away from the hate and bias of our former school board and administration. I worry about those seeking housing. Will they say that they'll never buy a house here because of the hate speech our city council allowed? I serve as an equity lead teacher in the Detroit Public School District and would be happy to offer equity trainings to our city council should they decide to be active in their quest to be an open and accepting community to all residents.
Thank you.
I am one of 3 people for a 9-minute statement. Hello, my name's Joan. I'm a Berkeley resident. My career has been in medicine, and I've worked for many different Catholic hospitals who run their business with a faith-based mindset. It was not surprising then that when I grew to trust a colleague, shared with them my sexuality, I was outed to management and fired. It was a painful and stressful experience to live through. I was working for an organization who very clearly did not support me or my family, despite being an outstanding employee who provided exceptional patient care. Many of my straight friends and colleagues are shocked to learn that this happened not once, but twice in my career. To sit across from a hospital administrator and have them say to your face, "We don't like your kind, you're fired," is something that I wouldn't wish on anyone, and yet that is part of my work history too. Councilmember Hennon, your comments at the last city council meeting were a reminder that queer people are not protected in all workplaces, and hopefully not in the city of Berkeley, where I've made my home for nearly 20 years. Our council members are elected officials serving our city as part of the government. You are not representatives of a Catholic hospital or your respective churches, synagogues, or mosques. The separation of church and state is essential to our democracy. Public policy should not be made based on personal religious beliefs. The responsibility of our city government is to ensure a safe, healthy, productive community for all Berkeley residents, not just the residents who share our council members' beliefs or attend their church. Thank you.
Thank you, Joni.
Hello, my name is Kim Adams. I live at 1881 Royal in Berkeley for the last 31 years. And I would like to start by thanking the council members who voted in support of the Berkeley Pride Block Party. We look forward to this opportunity for Berkeley neighbors to come together in celebrating the LGBTQ community. A community support of its LGBTQ residents can literally mean the difference between life and death. LGBTQ youth are more than 4 times as likely as their peers to attempt suicide. But those who live in communities that are accepting of LGBTQ people have much lower rates of suicide attempts than those whose communities are not affirming. By supporting the Pride event, you have sent the message that our LGBTQ population is a valued part of our community, and we are grateful to you for that. The sole vote against this event was from Councilmember Dennis Hennon, who backed his vote with blatant homophobia. He said, quote, "I'll be voting no. It's my deeply held religious conviction that homosexuality is wrong. And to be clear, this is not some sort of homophobia. For example, I feel equally about all kinds of sin," end quote. Councilmember Hennon, we are calling on you to resign because we will not stand by while hate speech is spewed from the floor of our city council. Our community does not accept bigotry from our public officials.
I'm Christine Gale. I live in Berkeley also. Councilmember Hennon, we have listened to your explanations in which you have referred to the Pride Block Party as a sensitive subject. Quite frankly, your belief that there is something controversial about endorsing Berkeley's LGBTQ community makes you unfit to represent our city. We have heard your argument that disagreement is not hate or discrimination. Councilmember Hennon, we hope that you have the respect for your constituents to know that we are smarter than that. Obviously, there are many issues that come before the City Council on which reasonable people can disagree. Council members and residents might reasonably disagree about what type of development is best for our city, or whether to reduce driving lanes in favor of bike lanes, or whether to spend limited resources on various projects. But there are not 2 reasonable positions on whether being gay makes someone a sinner. And the principle that people of all sexualities and gender identities are worthy of dignity, respect, and acceptance is not up for debate. We have listened to your plea for tolerance for your intolerance. But Councilmember Hennon, we do not tolerate hate. We do not tolerate hate regardless of its source. You are entitled to religious beliefs that propagate homophobia, but in this community, you are not entitled to represent us with those beliefs. We have listened to your supposed apology, in which you said that you had failed to acknowledge the harsh and judgmental ways your words would come across. Councilmember Hennon, you have failed to understand that the problem is not the way that you phrased your hate. The problem is your actual opinion of us, that you deeply believe that many of us, some of us who were contributing to this city before you even lived here, are sinners because of who we are or who we love. We have heard you say that you now understand why your comments were so hurtful. It is difficult to believe that you did not know, prior to the backlash to your comments, that sharing your belief that homosexuality is wrong would be offensive. It is difficult to fathom that you lacked the empathy to realize that labeling an entire group of residents, including children, as sinners would be hurtful.
My name is Jess Worrell. In continuation of that statement, I live on Cummings in Berkley. It is difficult to grasp what you meant when you compared our lives and our love to all kinds of sin. We're glad that you now recognize that our community will not tolerate hate from our government, but the harm that you have caused is not so easily undone. For every queer person who struggles with self-acceptance, there is a person just like you who conditioned them to feel this way. And those who discriminate, harass, or attack queer people often learn from or are emboldened by hateful speech that goes unchallenged. We will not let that go unchallenged. Councilmember Hennon, we have noted that your apology did not indicate a willingness to reevaluate your position on homosexuality, and that alone disqualifies you from representing us. We hope that you're genuine when you say that you have a lot to learn, but the place for this learning is not the City Council. This is learning that you have to do in your own life, not while representing us. Councilmember Hennon, many of us who voted for you are now ashamed to have done so. We should be able to trust that all of our elected officials will use the power that they have received from us to support inclusiveness. Instead, you've used your power to cast a vote for homophobia. You have no doubt emboldened others to express hate and to act on that hate, as can be seen in my inbox this week and last. We are here to say that we will not permit hate to grow in our city. We are calling on you to resign because you have lost the confidence of this community. You no longer represent us effectively because we do not trust you. Your hate speech has distracted from the business of our city government, and so we ask you to step aside and allow the work of the government to continue unburdened. Your words, and Tal Sullivan's words, are dog whistles for religious extremists and put our community in harm's way daily. You may have seen it as innocuous, but living in this body, they are not innocuous. You cannot ask for guidance about the LGBTQ community from closeted bisexuals who live heteronormative lives. They do not know what it's like to be out living as gay, taking the brunt of the hate for them. If you truly wanted to do better and to unlearn toxic religious brainwashing, you would need to seek help from a reputable source, such as the Trevor Project, Affirmations, Human Rights Campaign, just to name a few. My wife and I brought our 8-year-old daughter here, Luca, because she needs to know how to fight for her rights and the rights of her family because of people like you. People like you look down their noses at our family with religious righteousness on a daily basis. It is sad that we have to show our daughter what hate looks like disguised as religion and disguised as religious love. Don't I still have 3 minutes?
Used it up.
Are we done?
That was the wind down.
Okay. Dennis, resign.
Before the next person comes up, I would just like to, in reference to the last 3 speakers, Kim, Christine, and Jessica, if you are in agreement with what was just stated, if you could give us a show of hands to be entered onto the record. This in no way, thank you. And is Ms. Mathis is counting in the hallway, and she will come in here as well. This in no way means you don't have 3 minutes to come to the podium and express anything you want to add or a different opinion, but I just sense that there were a lot of people here that agreed with that statement, and thank you. So we're just, I know it's going to be a minute before we get everything counted. Are you counting in here? Is Tori counting?
I think Tori and I are both getting a count. But I think the record adequately shows it's vast majority of those in the room.
We're good? Yeah. Okay. 56, Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Come on up.
Reverend Anders Edstrom of Greenfield Presbyterian Church. I am here today, or this evening, to speak on behalf of the LGBTQ plus community. It deeply saddens me at the ways that Christianity has been weaponized against the LGBTQ plus community. Serious harm has been done in the ways that the Christian faith has been used to exclude our LGBTQ plus siblings. The sort of exclusionary interpretation of faith then seeps its way into public discourse, and it seeks to deny the LGBT community equity within our communities. Weaponization of faith against groups of people has no place in our communities of faith, much less in our public discourse. The LGBTQ community should feel safe and supported within their own community and not have religious views used against them. To my LGBTQ plus siblings, I apologize for the ways that the faith I represent has been twisted and weaponized as a source of harm against you, as is evident here this evening. For the ways your humanity and dignity has been denied to you, I apologize for the ways that our faith has been used as a foundation to uphold the walls of exclusion within our communities and our world. The love of God is unconditional and expansive, love that has no asterisk on it, love that has no terms or conditions. And we, as people of faith who proclaim loudly on Sunday mornings God's love, should be your most avid supporters and defenders. You will always have an ally in me. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
My name is Casey, and I read this statement on behalf of myself and my wife, Jessica. We have lived in what I affectionately call my Berkley bubble for the last 16 years, where we have raised our daughter, Luca, 8. To say I was disgusted by what I heard from your mouth 2 weeks ago, Dennis, is a massive understatement. Also notice this was written the day after those statements were made. I had never known your beliefs before that were so hateful and deep, because you never offered that information to me before I voted for you twice. Your religion is just that, yours. If you're using it to cast votes, you do not deserve a seat at this table. Our council members should be inclusive and cast votes based off the betterment of the city and not their own religion. A simple no would have sufficed, yet you felt the need to play pastor and degrade an entire community. You use your religion to hide behind your own fears, misunderstandings, and misconceptions of my community, and then you use this to spew the awful rhetoric that you did. Then you went further and made a public statement that you could have shut it down. Your statements were classless and gross. What is it about making others feel less than that empowers you? What is so great about making anyone feel like they are not worthy of love or acceptance, or that they don't belong? A popular question for our community is, why do you people have to have your carnivals and parades? You can imagine some of the other hateful things that accompany these questions. My response? Because not since ever have I ever comfortably held my own wife's hand in public, and we've been together nearly 20 years. Because of the hundreds of thousands that come out to their families that never receive a hug from them again. Because I have to constantly look over my shoulder when I'm out in public with my family. Because of the people that will never hug their families again because someone decided to play God for them. Because there are people calling for our execution from their pulpit, like Dylan Oz. Because of people like those messaging my wife with the most hateful things to say. Because at the age of 43 in the year 2022, in a city as welcoming and as diverse as this one, we're still having this conversation. That is why we have pride. So what happens now? Well, naturally, the next step is for you to issue some sort of course or well-written apology, seeing the error of your ways. We got it. These apologies have come and gone before and mean nothing. Your apology was empty at best. It's a way to save face, to score some support, and look like the bigger person. Here's the thing, Dennis. You should have known better from the start. You're an adult. Your words were not a mistake. They were intentional and detrimental, especially for our LGBTQ plus youth. We want action, period. We do not want you representing the city, and you do not represent the majority of the residents. I suggest getting some real education through the multiple organizations that exist in Michigan and around the country. Sit down with the children that are bullied day in and day out for simply being who they are. Talk to the parents that have lost children to suicide, then come back with a more open heart and mind. I know of a great church you could also switch to that's just down the road from where you attend now. This pastor allows you to love your God and your neighbors as a whole. You've cast a terrible light in the city and don't belong in the seat you occupy. We will fight for the progression of the city, and we will fight for the residents to feel safe and seen. Dennis, I call for you to resign.
Hi, my name is Stacy Brunel. I'm a resident of Royal Oak. However, I'm reading the statements of 2 Berkeley residents who were unable to be here but wanted their words on the record. Julie Gabat of Griffith Avenue, who's been a Berkeley resident for 33 years, says, although I'm unable to attend this calling for the resignation of Dennis Hennon, I stand with the calling. Elected officials serve all citizens without preference to religious beliefs. We are all equal under the Constitution of the United States, which is the model for government service. Berkeley's practice of inclusion is essential to its prosperous future and to our community's well-being. Please protect and strengthen Berkeley with the active step to put Mr. Hennon's resignation in place. Thank you. And a second statement from Christopher Pfeiffer of Columbia Road. He says, Berkeley residents are smart enough to know the difference between a mistake to be learned from and an action that makes someone unfit to represent us. Didn't do enough research on a particular issue, that's a mistake a council member could learn on. Believe that a group of your constituents are sinful because of who they are or love, and express this view at a city council meeting, that's hate speech. Not a mistake we are going to look past. Dennis, as a voter in the city, it is clear that you have misrepresented who you really are. I feel duped by you, and for the reasons listed, I am asking that you resign.
Thank you.
My name is Dallas Oliver, Berkeley resident.
Dallas, could you move the microphone up? I just want to make sure, but thank you.
I don't sound that good anyway. I'm not as eloquent as the rest of the crowd. Dennis, I put your yard sign in my yard. I encouraged my friends and neighbors to vote for you. I voted for you. I did not expect you to judge some of your constituents as sinners. Sorry. You call some of my family members and friends sinners. You let them down. You let me down in person. You let the city council down. You tarnish Berkeley's reputation. Please resign.
Thank you.
My name is Lori Robertson. I live on Dorothea Road. I can't believe that I have to say this, but Dennis, before you stole the admin rights on the Berkeley Residents Forum page on Facebook that had previously been owned by Rachel Piacentini, you referred to yourself as Dennis the human and Dennis the council member as an excuse as to why you shouldn't have the right to stay on as a member of that page when you at the time were not allowing any other city council members to join that private toxic page. Do you remember that? Because I do. Other residents remember that too. I will be clear in saying, Dennis the human, what you do or believe in your home is your business and your business alone. And I respect whatever different beliefs we may have, whether it's religious or otherwise. Today I'm talking to you as Dennis the council member. As a public figure who is supposed to be representing your constituents, your comments at the city council meeting on June 6th were more than inappropriate. We all know by now what you said, but what I don't understand is why you didn't just vote no and say nothing. Why did you feel the need to tell the LGBTQ plus residents of Berkeley that homosexuality is not only wrong, but also a sin? Was it moral righteousness? A simple no vote would have sufficed. I concede there may have been a few people who were upset with the no, but I think most residents would have thought, okay, weird, but whatever, it's passed and that's all that matters. Hiding behind the church does not protect you. Before the June 6th meeting, we knew you as Dennis Hennon, the council member. Now we know you as Dennis Hennon, the bigot. As you know, my family and I have never voted for you, and we never will. Your history with the city has been tenuous at best. You have 5, although by the time I'm reading this, you probably have more at the complaints from residents. You do not represent me, my family, or my city that I've been a resident of for 47 years. I would like for you to do the right thing and step down if Mayor Turbrak cannot remove you. When hate is loud, love must not be silent. We are an ally of the LGBTQ community. Our entire family is. And I am really proud of everybody that has come today to speak. And I am sorry for all the hurt that he has brought upon you.
Thank you, Lori.
My name's Michelle. We live in Berkeley, and this is my son, Evan. He's 12 years old. He's an honor student. He is honest and caring and a role model to so many of his peers. He is the future of our city, but according to you, he is a sinner because he is transgender. You put him in the same category as murderers, thieves, and adulterers. Your ignorant and judgmental views will drag this city down. Your views could put my son in danger and others like him, the same people you are supposed to be protecting and making positive decisions for. There's so much more to this than a block party that you voted down.
My name is Evan Brazo, and I live in Berkeley.
Lower the microphone, please.
All LGBTQ plus adults and youths deserve to be heard, treated right, and acknowledged. I hope I speak for all of Berkeley when I say we don't want someone who does not support freedom to be who we are.
Thank you, Michelle and Evan. Please. I hate to do it, but I'm doing it in the interest of time. We have a lot of people that want to speak. You can cheer silently and applaud in your mind, but it really has to stop. Thank you. Anybody else that would like to come up and speak? Microphone.
Microphone. Bring the microphone back up. Thank you so much.
Greetings. Hello. My name is Aubrey Roberts. I am just a citizen. I have been connected with Berkeley in some way or another for the entirety of my life. Now, let me say up front that even though my own spiritual convictions may cause me to disagree with your take about how sinful or not our fellow LGBTQ members are, that's not what I'm here to discuss. What I am here to discuss is how you mentioned how the city should not get involved in sensitive issues. The question is, what do you define as sensitive issues? We have this, of course, which you seem to define as a sensitive issue, but perhaps other issues, such as, say, issues of race, perhaps, or of people with disabilities, neurodivergent people such as myself. There's so many things you could define as sensitive issues. And suppose you want to go a bit broader. Suppose any issue could be interpreted as a sensitive issue, for many things impact many different people, and very severely so. And that's why I feel perhaps your assessment that the city should not be involved in sensitive issues is wrong. As a matter of fact, being called to serve on this council is sort of you saying that you are qualified to take care of any of these sensitive issues, regardless of how they may be. And to be able to put aside your own biases even in service of the greater good. So, if you had felt that there was a practical reason the city should not endorse this event, you'd be free to admit that. But admitting up front that your own personal beliefs are what stop you from this, now is the time, I'm afraid, Mr. Hennon, that you're going to have to make a decision. Can you reconcile what you believe with the fact that you have to sometimes set that aside in how you vote, and not every vote is you betraying your own beliefs? Or can you not reconcile that? Because if you can't, then you're going to have to make a decision about which duty you shall serve first. Everyone outside, for agreeing or disagreeing, has decided to stick their own stand in this. So you will have to do the same. For my own part, I must disagree with your stance here. I'm not yet ready to decide that you must be expelled or not. That all depends on whether or not everyone finds you to be valuable enough to remain in spite of your views. But this is a small community, and city and local government are as close as government gets to the lives of all citizens in their daily lives. Community is like a family, and whoever troubleth his own house shall inherit the wind.
Thank you.
My name is Claire Livingston. I am only 13 years old, but I have lived in Berkeley for all of my 13 years. Nothing that I have experienced in Berkeley would lead me to believe that a council member who would hide behind his religious beliefs to express blatant homophobia and hatred towards many people is fit to serve on the city council. I may be too young to vote, but but my voice can still be heard.
Thank you, Claire.
Hello, my name is Nicole Menard, and I am reading a message on behalf of Caitlin Thrasher. Good evening, Berkeley City Council. I'm writing you this letter as a distressed and concerned citizen and parent. I'm very concerned with the future of Berkeley and how we as a community want to be identified going forward. I've lived in Berkeley for 15 years, and I've loved watching Berkeley grow and become a wonderfully welcoming and supportive community to raise my family in, which is why I'm so distressed as to Dennis Hennon's vote at the last City Council meeting in regards to the Pride Block Party. I was shocked and disappointed that in 2022, in the city we live in, there is still hatred, unacceptance, and divide for basic human decency. Dennis, I don't know you personally, and I know you don't know me. However, my heart hurts for your friends, family, and children who feel they can't truly be themselves around you if they don't fit your religious narrative. Showing support and acceptance saves lives. It's that simple. If we show our community and youth that they have a safe space to be themselves and that there are others in our community just like them, we can potentially save a human from feeling isolated, alone, depressed, and possibly suicidal. Our community should not just accept or tolerate differences. We need to celebrate and welcome them. For our children's future, we need to show a welcoming and safe environment. I'd like to share that I'm unable to be here in person tonight because I have a daughter playing a baseball game. She is 9 and has played for Dad's Club since she was in T-ball. She happens to be gender nonconforming and prefers to play with the boys with most things. I've been able to enroll her in boys soccer, basketball, and baseball in our community for years when co-ed isn't an option due to the way our community and its members accept, support, and encourage my child. I have a very valid fear that this may cease to exist in the future if we allow people like Dennis Hennon to use their religion as a reason to prevent all humans the basic right to be themselves. I'm asking you, Dennis, please resign as your Berkeley City Council member. You do not symbolize what Berkeley stands for. You do not represent the future of Berkeley. You do not have the right to use a religion to prevent every single Berkeley citizen the right to be themselves and to be supported, to be loved, and to be accepted. Respectfully, Caitlin Thrasher. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Amelia, and my husband and I have been residents of Berkeley for over 20 years and hope to be for at least another 20. When Mr. Hennon campaigned for his current seat, he knocked at our door and talked with us about his vision for Berkeley, and we genuinely appreciated his outreach. When we talked, he pledged to always put the interests of Berkeley first. So we were profoundly disappointed to hear that he gave us his rationale for the no vote on the Pride Day permit, not what was best for the city, but his own personal biases and prejudices. Now our trust has been broken. Where are the lines? Will families with same-sex parents not be allowed to participate in city activities? Will he demand the removal of books from our community library that don't earn his personal stamp of approval? If his decisions as a public servant are going to be based on his personal biases and religious beliefs versus the public interest, then he should have been upfront about that during his campaign. I was also shocked to hear him use a rationale that when I was a child was the same rationale used to deny people the right to interracial marriage. In 1979, my husband's family fled a theocracy to return to the home of the free. He was disgusted to hear Mr. Hennon use a sadly familiar theocratic rationale to deprive our neighbors of their right to enjoy civic life in peace, freedom, and safety. One thing I've always loved about Berkeley is the way our community embodies the ethos, love thy neighbor. At a minimum, that means treating others, even those who live differently from you, with decency and respect, including respect for their right to peaceably assemble, to celebrate community and family bonds, and respect for their right to the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. That is the foundation of living in an open and free society, the foundation of our country, and I'm disappointed that Mr. Hennon's actions far short of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Amelia.
My name is Rachel. I am a Berkeley High School alumna, and I have been a Berkeley resident for over a decade. While I don't like speaking in public, clearly, Dennis Hennon's performance at the last City Council meeting was so counter to the values Berkeley espouses that I felt it necessary to join my voice with other people of conscience who have come here tonight to call for him to step down from City Council. Mr. Hennon is just one of many people who use their religion as a cover for their intolerance. While private citizens have the right to make decisions based on their religious beliefs, doing so is absolutely unacceptable for an elected official who is sworn to serve all the citizens of this city. It emboldens bigots and puts LGBTQ+ people in very real danger. It also shows a fundamental disregard for both separation of church and state and the teachings of Jesus, who I believe would have been at Pride in a free dad hugs t-shirt, telling everyone there that they are loved exactly as they are. Mr. Hennon said that he supports respect and equal treatment of the LGBTQ community. That is not true. No one who respects a community or believes they deserve equal treatment would tell them that they don't deserve the same access to city spaces and services as other groups. He said he must draw the line at city-run events that require his personal endorsement. Voting for a city-run event is not a personal endorsement, which no one is interested in, by the way, but simply granting permission to use city facilities and services that their taxes are paying for. Mr. Hennon said that his vote was not, quote unquote, some sort of homophobia. For example, he said, I feel equally about all kinds of sin. The last time I read the Constitution of this nation and of the state of Michigan, I saw no mention of the concept of sin. The subjective belief in sin is utterly irrelevant in civic discourse and should never be the basis for decision-making at any level of government. While I hope his carefully crafted apology is sincere and he grows from this experience, Mr. Hennon has shown that his deeply held religious convictions are more important to him than the diverse people in this city of Berkeley or the philosophical underpinnings of our democracy. Mr. Hennon, you don't act in the best interests of everyone in Berkeley. You must step down.
Thank you, Rachel.
Good evening, council members and fellow Berkeley community members. My name is Christopher Petrat. I reside on Oxford Road and work at a local healthcare center where I provide care to many LGBTQ+ community members, some of which even call Berkeley their home. I stand before my community today as a concerned citizen of Berkeley, a community I've come to call my home for the last 6 years. I am here because I am a survivor of some of the worst situations a child could face as an LGBTQ+ youth. While most kids in high school worried what friends they were going to the movies with, or what they were wearing to the seasonal dance, I spent my walk home from school wondering which object my dad was going to beat me with. Because he was embarrassed of his openly gay son, he too deeply held religious beliefs that taught him I was a sin. I spent 4 years of my life living in total fear. I stand here now as a fierce advocate for my community. I stand here as a person that our community depends on for life-saving medical care. I stand here as someone who was able to overcome the violence that stems from hateful interpretation of Scripture. I stand here as someone who refuses to believe my life is a sin. Councilmember Dennis Hennon's conduct during the June 6th council meeting regarding the closure of Robina for the Berkeley Pride Block Party was an act of impropriety. This event holds no special interests, merely a place for marginalized, and as you've witnessed firsthand, a discriminated faction of the community to come together in a show of support and connection. This is a core value of community, coming together in a time of need to support one another like a community should. I think it is within the best interests of our city that Mr. Hennon resign, as this is not what responsible leadership or a better Berkeley looks like. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher.
Good evening, Council and Mayor Pro Tem Dean. I'm Julia Music, Ferndale resident, former City Council member of Ferndale, and Executive Director of Ferndale Pride. My mom, aunt, and uncle are Berkeley graduates, class of 67, 70, and 72. My son attends Berkeley schools. His father and stepmother are Berkeley residents. Tonight, they're unable to be here. His stepmother, Cheryl, asked if I read this letter on behalf of their Berkeley family. This letter is from Cheryl Collins, Wiltshire Road. First of all, I'd like to thank all of the City Council members who voted in support of the Berkeley Pride Block Party. Unfortunately, we're unable to attend this event as we're out of town, but your support is very much appreciated. As a parent of a queer teenager, a strong ally of the LGBTQ+ community, and a resident of Berkeley for the past 16 years, I'm calling for the resignation of Councilmember Dennis Hennon. Councilmember Hennon, I'm not going to mention the positive reasons I had voted for you. The moment you verbalized your personal, deeply held religious beliefs that an entire group of human beings, a group that includes my child and friends, and members of the Berkeley community is wrong and a sin, none of those positive things mattered any longer. On your webpage, you state, we particularly like the close-knit community where neighbors look out for neighbors. Your neighbors include LGBTQ people. Now, I can't help but feel uncomfortable knowing that if you were to walk by my house with a pride flag, you'd believe someone in my house was wrong. Your words and actions matter. You stated them loud and clear when you voted in opposition of the Berkeley Pride event. You did not, however, state them clearly in your campaign, leaving me to feel misled. I would have not voted for you knowing you believed homosexuality is wrong. I would have never voted for you if I had known you'd make decisions for your city based on your religion that is discriminatory and bigoted, not only against my child, but the LGBTQ citizens of Berkeley. I'm asking for you to step down from your seat as a Berkeley City Council member because you have allowed your religious beliefs to drive your decision-making, and I will not tolerate any further marginalization of LGBTQ people, especially in our community. Thank you for your time, Cheryl Collins. Councilmember Hennon, as a former council member myself and a queer person, I found this letter particularly difficult to read. I know you love the city of Berkeley. However, the residents who voted for you feel deceived. Resignation tonight would not show weakness. It would show some humanity to those who voted for you without understanding that you would use your church to make governmental decisions. I implore you to step down and do what's right for the city of Berkeley.
Thank you, Julia. There's an open microphone. So everyone that was waiting to speak who was in the hallway has made their comments. If there is anyone else that would like to speak, please come up.
Joshua Chadwick, Berkeley, Harvard Road. I'm coming before you as a proud gay man who was actually surprised by the comments made by a councilman because I had voted for him. Being a member of the business community, I look forward to someone that took an analytical approach to business and held things to account. I was actually very distraught when one of my colleagues actually brought your hateful words to my attention. You have put a stain on the Berkeley name, and it has made me second guess further investments in this community, which is at the detriment of everyone else. I haven't lived here very long, but the one thing I found as living as a Berkeley resident is this community comes together. It's bounded by their compassion, their empathy, their drive, their innovation, and willingness to roll up their sleeves and get things done. But when people are put down, it deflates them. It sucks all the air out of the room and stagnates innovation. Your concise and brief PR statement doesn't sway me. Actions speak louder than words. While I won't call for your resignation right now, I will be watching. Others will be watching what you do and what you do not do. It breaks my heart that I have to sit back here and listen to people time and time again recount their horrible stories to drive home a sense of empathy for someone who is so egotistical. I don't enjoy taking my evening speaking out on things that should be in the history books, but here I am. I say this because I try to give voice to the voiceless. When I was growing up on the east side, two things were very common: pierogies and homophobia. I didn't move to Berkeley to live through that again. And I sure as heck am not going to invest another dollar in this community if this is what's going to be for the future. I hope this resonates with you, and I hope you take it to heart, because recall is never off the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua.
Hi, my name's Lindsay Taco. I live on Cummings. These awesome neighbors over here, and I wasn't even going to say anything, but I just need to say my heart is telling me to say that I'm so proud of everyone that stood up here and talked, and it's brave of these children to come up. They shouldn't have to be here to say this, and if this is the vote of all of you, which I know it's not, then I thank you for your vote of yes. A vote of no is a vote against all of these people in this room, and that blows my mind. As a teacher and a parent, I couldn't imagine saying no to my child or any child that I've taught in 17 years, and it breaks my heart. And I'm so proud of these people that came today to speak up, especially the people that are our next generation, and I hope they hear us, and I hope, you know, my door is always open. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Hi, I'm Sue Zager, and I'm a Berkeley resident and have been for 16 years. And Dennis, I voted for you. I'm an ally of the LGBTQ plus community, and I was so disheartened to hear your no and the reason that you gave the no. And all we were asking for was to close a street. We weren't asking for anything else. But your reasoning for no was to call people sinners and to tell them that they were wrong for what they believed in and who they were. I do ask for your resignation because you are entitled to your belief, but not to put your belief on a political stand, which is what you did. So I do ask for your resignation because your apology did not show me and the other people that I spoke with that you understand that religion and politics are not to be mixed. So thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Has everyone who came to speak tonight had an opportunity to come to the podium? Ms. Mitchell, have you received any correspondence to be entered into the record?
I did. Paul Jordan, Berkeley, Darlene Nixick, Berkeley, Judith Twardowski, Berkeley, Bridget Marley, Berkeley, Brandy Cashman, Berkeley, Elizabeth Petrie, Berkeley. Strongly disagree with the comments made by Council Member Hennon before the Berkeley Pride Block Party street closure last meeting and ask for him to resign or be removed. The email also speaks in support of the LGBTQIA+ community. I have one other email from Chuck Tyrell, Berkeley, states that motion M5322 should not be approved as Loom marijuana business license does not meet the basic requirements due to the close proximity to KinderCare. He states KinderCare offers several kindergarten program which violates the Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act. And that
Thank you,
is
Ms.
all.
Mitchell. Okay, I'm going to close public comments at 7:55 PM. And moving on to the consent agenda. Maybe we'll wait a second for people to. Ms. Mitchell, will you please read the items on tonight's consent agenda?
1, approval of the minutes. Matter of approving the minutes of the 39th regular city council meeting on Monday, June 6, 2022. 2, warrant. Matter of approving warrant number 1375. 3, resolution number R1322. Matter of recognizing the outgoing City of Berkeley Planning Commissioner Martin Smith. 4, proclamation number P2222, matter proclaiming July 2022 as Parks and Recreation Month.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Baker with support from Councilmember Gavin. Ms. Mitchell, will you please call the roll?
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Valani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes. The consent agenda has passed. Ms. Mitchell, will you please, oh, wait, sorry, I'm running ahead of myself. Imagine that. I've asked Councilmember Gavin to read R1322.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. A resolution of the Council of the City of Berkeley, Michigan, recognizing the outgoing Planning Commissioner Martin Smith, and I'm going to take a point of personal privilege and start calling him Marty, so
Thank you.
hopefully that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm sure he'd be all right with that. Whereas Marty Smith began his tenure with the City of Berkeley Planning Commission in 2000, and whereas in 2007, Marty was elected to vice chairperson, and during his tenure has been an invaluable member who has mentored numerous members of the commission. And whereas Marty has resided in the City of Berkeley for decades and has been a tireless advocate for the city in doing what is best for Berkeley while balancing that with trying to mitigate individual residents' concerns in all of his decisions. And whereas Marty is a graduate of Lawrence Technological University and has been a long-serving vice president, principal vice president with Siegel and Tuamala Associates, Architects and Planners Incorporated, where he has used this experience to provide the detail-oriented architectural expertise in noticing issues many of the commission overlooked through the years. And whereas Marty has devoted himself to professional development by being a Michigan Master Citizen Planner, holding certification for the National Council of Architectural Registration Boards, and a lead accredited professional for the U.S. Green Building Council. And whereas Marty will be missed not only for his expertise, but also for his willingness to say what he thought was right and for keeping his integrity during the planning process in all of his decisions. And whereas Marty is an esteemed colleague, an author, carpenter, and furniture builder, and will be sorely missed by the Planning Commission. Now, therefore, the City of Berkeley resolves, Section 1, that the City Council does hereby recognize and honor Marty Smith for the extraordinary service he has provided to the Berkeley community over the past 22 years, serving on the City of Berkeley Planning Commission, and notably leading as vice chairperson for the past 15 years. Introduced and passed at a regular City Council meeting on Monday, June 20th, 2022. Bridget Dean, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councilmember Gavin. And I would just like to take a half a second to say how appreciative I am for Marty's service to the city. 22 years is a long time. He was very good he's very good at what he does, and he brought that expertise to our planning commission. So Marty, if you're watching from home, which of course you are, thank you.
Who wouldn't?
Thank you so much. I know. And I have asked Councilmember Villani to read P 2222.
A proclamation of the Council of the City of Berkley, Michigan, proclaiming July 2022 as Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout the country, wow, I can't speak today, including the City of Berkley, and whereas our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our community, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region, and whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for individuals with mental or physical disabilities, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of the community, assisting in preserving green space, providing vegetative buffers from development, producing a habitat for wildlife, and mitigating stormwater runoff, and whereas the use of the city's parks and recreation has proven to be paramount in keeping the community physically, mentally, and emotionally healthy, especially during the COVID-19 public health crisis, and whereas the City of Berkley recognizes the outstanding benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now, therefore, the Council of the City of Berkley hereby proclaims, Section 1, that the month of July 2022 is hereby proclaimed as Parks and Recreation Month in the City of Berkley, and City Council encourages all citizens to celebrate healthy, active lifestyles by enjoying their choice of the fantastic park locations here in the City of Berkley. Section 2, that the City Council extends gratitude and recognizes the City of Berkley Parks and Recreation Department for their outstanding work in providing the community with recreation opportunities during the COVID-19 pandemic and their continued success in maintaining and adding to the city's beautiful park locations. Proclaimed this 20th day of June 2022 at a regular meeting of the Berkley City Council. Bridget Dean, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councilmember Villani. And of course, I'm going to add a couple cents to this. Our Parks and Rec Department is really second to none. Director McCarlton has done an incredible job. All the improvements that we're seeing in our parks and more to come on that. You know, if you stay for my communications, there's a lot of fun activities, but you know, only the strongest last till then. Anyway, thank you for that. Ms. Mitchell, will you please read item number 2 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M5322, matter of approving marijuana business license PMA 20-0010 for Attitude Wellness DBA Loom to be located at 1949 12 Mile Road.
Is there a motion to approve M5322?
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Villani with support from Councilmember Price. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. This item comes to you, it's the first of 2 related items coming to you for the final step of the process as outlined by the ordinance. Under the same ordinance, an applicant's Attitude Wellness, DBA Loom, they made their application to the city. They received a scoring by myself in an open and public meeting. They had the opportunity to appeal said score. That scores went before City Council and who affirmed the recommendation from the hearing officer that was appointed by the city. They then advanced to Planning Commission. Planning Commission reviewed over the course of a couple meetings the site plan, all the various tenants, making sure that they met the same requirements that we would have of any other community or of any other site plan, as well as making sure the site plan adhered to the items that they received their score based on. And so that was the second to final portion of this. They come back now to you having been reviewed and having received site plan approval. And now they fall under section 30-806, which outlines the following steps. Essentially, the City Council under ordinance has the final say for approval on the marijuana business license. And then after that, they'd be able to proceed to the construction process. And then there are some timelines that are dictated by ordinance, specifically subsection J, as outlined in the memo included in your packet. So we included the scoring summary for this address. We included the PC, the Planning Commission minutes, still in draft form because the Planning Commission has not met to affirm those. But as you can watch the PC meeting from May 24th, you'll see that they adequately summarize the commentary as well as the conditions created by the Planning Commission. And then we also included a link to the PC packet, the Planning Commission packet, in which council can review, and then anybody that was interested in reviewing the packet could review the site plan documents themselves. So all that being said, this is the first of 2 items coming before you, looking for final approval. It does come with the recommendation from administration to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgarten. Mr. Attorney, would you like to add anything?
Yes, just briefly, I think that Manager Baumgarten gave you the lay of the land pretty well, so you don't need me to repeat it. Yeah, this is the final step in what has been a very long and arduous process. I think we're over 2 years from now since we started, but continue to hopefully move forward. And what you have before you tonight is, well, the first of 2 applicants who were originally scored among the top 3, and after the appeal process remained in the top 3, but as council knows, as a result of the appeal process, 2 other applicants improved their score to create the 3-way tie for 3rd. But I just wanted to to point that out, that these 2 tonight have always been among the high rankers. The only other thing I wanted to address is really an issue that Clerk Mitchell read an email from a resident which stated what I believe is an inaccurate conclusion relating to the proximity of the Attitude Wellness Loom facility to the KinderCare, and the comment, as I understood it, seemed to suggest that it was in violation of the distance requirement, the 1,000-foot separation requirement. And I just want to state that that is something that was very thoroughly vetted by the city, and it's an incorrect conclusion. The Michigan Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act does contain a provision that a marijuana establishment is to be located not within 1,000 feet of a pre-existing public or private school providing education in kindergarten or any of the grades 1 through 12, unless the municipality adopts an ordinance that reduces this distance requirement. So the statute gives us the ability to reduce the separation requirement. It doesn't authorize increasing it, and the distance requirement only applies to the facilities that are offering K through 1 or whatever educational programming. We did look closely at that. The city administration spoke directly to the people at KinderCare, and they confirmed unequivocally that they do not offer any kindergarten programming. Some kindergartens, I keep saying kindergarten, some KinderCares around the state and the country do. Okay. This one does not. They didn't have any foreseeable plans to do so, and so it seemed pretty clear that this doesn't apply. And I should also mention, because this is a state law requirement, the city ordinance has a similar requirement, but our city ordinance is simply parroting what's in the state law. So, I mean, to get a state license, they need to meet this requirement. So, it isn't just a city thing, right, but rather to get a license from the state, they would also need to meet it. So I just wanted to clarify that. That isn't something that was overlooked by
Right.
the city manager or the legal department. Quite the contrary, it was very thoroughly investigated as soon as it was discovered that we had this proximity, and we were quite satisfied that there was not a problem. We actually even checked with the state agency, the Marijuana Regulatory Authority, and they were of the same mind. So with that, I just wanted to correct or clarify that statement that I thought had some inaccurate information.
I appreciate that. I appreciate your due diligence and your circling back around with that to clarify. So with that, any public comments?
Good evening, City Council. My name is John Abbo. I'm the representative here for Attitude Wellness, doing business as Loom Cannabis Co. Just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to invest in your community. It's been a long time coming. We're very excited to be here, and we're excited to bring a first-class establishment to your town. So if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Do you have a question?
Yeah. I'm just curious if you are approved tonight, when you would expect to start construction and when you would anticipate opening.
I think as far as last I heard, we'd probably submit for building permit within the next 30 days. And I think the timeline is probably around 4 to 5 months is my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I just don't want you to get comfortable and then have to pop back up, so. Okay, it doesn't appear that there are other questions. Any other comments? Discussion from council? Ms. Mitchell, call the vote, please.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Valani,
Yes.
Baker,
No.
Gavin,
No.
Dean.
Yes. Ms. Mitchell, please read item number 3 on tonight's agenda.
Motion number M5422, matter of approving marijuana business license PMA 20-0015 for Quality Roots to be located at 3916 West 11 Mile Road.
Is there a motion to approve M5422?
So moved.
Support?
Motion made by Councilmember Hennon with support from Councilmember Valani. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. This applicant followed the same process, same application period, same review, same right to appeal, same planning commission process. They come to you by way of the same exact process as the last one. So this one was only a little bit different. This one's located on 11 Mile. Did receive a score of, I believe, 310 of 315. And then again, I've included the same materials in your packet for council's review, including a link to the May 24th PC Planning Commission packet so that you can review their individual site plan as well. But otherwise, this comes with the same recommendation from administration.
Thank you. Anything to add, Mr. Attorney?
No, I think I talked out.
Oh, I don't even believe that for half a second.
For now.
Were you kidding? Any public comments?
Council, Eric Clark, Quality Roots, previous Berkeley resident of 8 years. I'm very excited to get to this point with you all today. I'm very excited to hopefully make continuous investments into this community and to just show this community what a good choice they made, not only with Quality Roots, but to embrace this new culture and this new environment that is so exciting for us. And just excited for the opportunity and excited to get the ball rolling as fast as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Don't sit down because council may have questions for you. Councilmember Hennon?
Yes, I have the same question. When do you expect that you might be able to start construction, and how long until expect open?
Same exact answer. We'll have permits, everything submitted for permits here in the next probably 2 to 4 weeks, and we see a completion date of around 4 to 6 months. And actually, to answer that question too, I speak on behalf of all of the the marijuana top 5 applicants, that you guys have a stellar group of people who are all going to work towards getting this done for all of you guys so that your community can see the benefit. So as fast as we possibly can.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Discussion from council. Ms. Mitchell, please call the vote.
Price,
Yes.
Valani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes. Ms. Mitchell, will you please read item number 4 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M5522, matter of approving the appointments to various boards and commissions.
Is there a motion to approve M5522?
So moved.
Ooh, okay, moved by
Support.
Councilmember Hennon with support from Councilmember Gavin. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thank you very much. At your place setting, you have an updated version of the motion, at least an updated version of the roster this evening. We have 5 different boards with appointments for this evening, with more coming at our next meeting as well. Several of our committee members, boards and commission members, their chairs, their staff liaisons, or council liaisons, as you all know, take this process incredibly seriously. And so some of them were able to conclude that process for this evening. Some of them will be able to conclude that process at the next meeting for you. But as you saw this evening, and as we know through doing this for now several years, we've got a stellar group of volunteers, only made harder each and every one of your decisions as far as trying to nominate individuals for this. And even in several instances, you had volunteers that just wanted to serve. They put out several different areas of interest in their application. So again, the city is restocking its fantastic core of volunteers. So I will read through the appointments this evening. I'll be reading from the one at your place setting that clarifies ZBA members, differentiating full members from alternates. So first up is our Planning Commission. And I apologize for anybody whose name I do not pronounce correctly. I'm a Baumgarten. I try to be very sensitive to that because mine is wrong all the time. But nonetheless, these are wonderful volunteers. Lisa Hammond? Hamami. That's exactly what I meant
That's
to
what you
say.
said. That's what I
That
heard.
would have been your next name, I know.
Appointment to a partial term expiring July of 2024. Shiloh Dolan, appointment to a term expiring in July of 2025. Lisa Kempner, appointment to a term expiring in July of 2025. Mateo Pasalacqua, an appointment to a term expiring July 2025. Next up, our Environmental Advisory Committee, Carolyn Dix, for an appointment to a partial term expiring July 2023. Stephanie Pandolfi, appointment to a term expiring in July of 2025. Rebecca Randall, an appointment to a term expiring July 2025. Noel Rendelman, an appointment to a term expiring in July of 2025. Next up for you are our Zoning Board of Appeals, Joseph Krug, an appointment to a term expiring in July of 2025. Maria Ward, an appointment to a term expiring in July of 2025. Joanne Sir, appointment to a term expiring July of 2025. Your two alternates for this slate are Mr. Steve Allen for a term expiring in July of 2025, and Andrew Creel for an appointment to a partial term expiring in July of 2024. Next up, your tree board, Laura Price, for an appointment expiring in July of 2025. And then last but not least, Ashley Poirier, a reappointment to a full term for a term expiring in July of 2026. So as mentioned, the DDA board will have two other members for you. Your library board will also have some members for you as well, and then some of our advisory boards will also have appointments for you as well. So several of these are reappointments, individuals that are asking to serve yet again. One term's not enough for them, and they want to continue serving our community. So very proud of the slate you have for you. I thank council members and their help in getting us to this point this evening. So, and of course, thank you to the volunteers as well.
Sure. Any discussion from council? Yes, Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just want to again thank all of the residents for their volunteering of their energy, their talent, their skills, their passion to help continue to make Berkeley awesome. I see at least one of our applicants is in the room. I don't know if you'd like to come up and say a few words, but your presence here is very welcome, and glad for your service on the DDA board, and I certainly will be voting in support of of this entire set of fantastic people, which includes you.
Yeah, why
Yeah.
I'm here. Hi,
All
I'm
that.
Ashley Poyer. I'm excited to continue my work on the DDA board. I feel like I'm kind of hitting my stride on what I can contribute, so I'm excited to keep carrying that on. And also as a Berkeley resident, Berkeley business owner, and in light of the public comments today, I'm proud to diversify the board as a gay woman. So thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Anything else from council? I'm just going to say to all the volunteers really on our boards and commissions, we are so grateful for your service because really you are the backbone. I mean, these groups wouldn't exist. They wouldn't be so productive if we didn't have people like you. I'm going to single you out, Ashley, because you're here on these boards and giving so generously of your time and talent. So to all the candidates on the slate, I just want to express my gratitude for your willingness to serve and to serve so well. Ms. Mitchell, will you please call the roll on M5522?
Valani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes. Ms. Mitchell, will you please read item number 5 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M5622, matter of awarding the contract for the repair and resurfacing of the tennis courts at Friends Park at a cost not to exceed $31,500 to the lowest qualified bidder, Laser Striping and Sport Surfacing, 9965 Lapham Way, Plymouth, Michigan 48170. In addition, allocate $3,150 for contingencies. Funds for this expenditure will come from account 614-950-974-000.
Is there a motion to approve M5622?
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Hennon with support from Councilmember Price. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the City Council because it's through their support and resource allocation that projects like this are possible. And thank you to Teresa and her staff for continuing to make incredible improvements to all of our parks and open out some opportunities for something different as well. So you're joined this evening by the Parks and Recreation Director.
Director McCarlton.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to bring this before you today for several reasons. One, because it's something that's necessary. There's repairs that need to be made in the surfaces. The second reason that I think it's really exciting is because repairing this surface was specifically mentioned in the Recreation Master Plan. And I think it's important as we go through while these plans are created, to not just create them and let them sit there, to actually do the things that are in the plans. Some of them are larger, sort of more abstract, and some of them are very specific. And this very specifically states that we're repairing the surface to the courts on Harvard, to what is known as Friends Park. Still need to be able to change that sign from Oxford Towers. We plan to hopefully do that this summer, and really embrace that it is our Friends Park now. We did go out to bid, received just one bid. As I noted in the memo, that's not very unusual for something like this. Typically there's one, maybe two companies that do something this specific. The company that we have hired to do this, we have not worked with before, but I did speak to several of their references. They've done work in other municipalities and for other school districts. They all spoke very highly of them. We feel that they can meet what we're asking for. They use the exact certain surface repairing material that we have specified that's used. One of the things that I wanted to note was originally we had looked at a couple different things with these courts. We had looked at doing a complete asphalt removal and repairing the asphalt, and so we had funds additionally budgeted for that. But after talking with other industry experts, we had them look at the courts, we looked at the courts themselves, and we looked at what resurfacing can do. We decided to go that route, which is significant savings for that budget item. One of the other things that we looked at doing was specifically making these courts pickleball specific for many reasons, relating to the space, relating to parking, relating to the noise that pickleball brings. We don't think that this is the right step for now to make these pickleball specific. We will be lining them for tennis and pickleball, so it will be adding to that, and then we're still going to work on finding pickleball specific courts somewhere in the city because we do want to have it as that specific. So I did want to note that that was something that was talked about that was something that was looked at. Right now, we're looking at with timing based on the work and that this company has. We're looking at these being installed in late August, early September, or the resurfacing happening in late August, early September, I should say.
Well, that's exciting news. Any discussion or comment from council about this item? Councilmember Hennon.
Yeah, I want to commend you for finding a way to do this repair that's, you know, going to save the city money without compromising quality. Do you have a idea off the top of your head about how much we're going to save over the original budget?
Sure. So typically, a complete asphalt removal, it really can run anywhere between 30 and 50 a quart. We had budgeted 80, 40 each quart. And this is obviously 31 with some contingencies, so roughly anywhere from $40,000 to $50,000. And really resurfacing, the cool thing about resurfacing is once it's done, it really does look like a brand new quart. They remove all the debris, they fill all the cracks, and then literally have a brand new surface and new paint. And then we'll also have new netting, which we'll take care of on our end.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Maybe, Councilmember Ryan.
Well, I would just like to say, as that is in my neighborhood, we see firsthand how much usage that park and those courts get. So I know my neighbors and residents will be super excited for the improvements there.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. McCarlton. Or less formally, Teresa.
Not very formal.
Ms. Mitchell, will you please call the roll on M5622?
Baker,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Valani,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes. The item was approved. Ms. Mitchell, will you please read item number 6 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M5722, matter of approving the purchase of official Woodward Dream Cruise merchandise to be sold at various locations during the month of August at a cost not to exceed $28,000. Funds for this expenditure will come from account 614-915-818-000.
Mr. Baumgarten?
Thank you, ma'am. For this item, we are joined by the staff liaison to the Cruise Fest Board, the vice chair of the Woodward Dream Cruise Board, as well as our Parks and Rec director, and they're all Teresa.
I need a motion. Sorry.
So moved. Support. I feel moved by this item.
Oh, no. Okay. Item moved by Councilmember Baker with support by
Sure. I'll take it. That's fine.
Councilmember Taylor.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. Okay.
You got
It was
your
a-
one mistake.
It was a rewind.
Yes. So Ms. McCarlton wears many hats when it comes to this collection of events, and does a phenomenal job with each one. So as we normally do each time around this point in the calendar, we get ready to purchase apparel, and Teresa goes through a very extensive process as outlined in her memo as how they come to this number, and so there's quite a bit of science experience and a little bit of art in this process, and so that's why we come to the number you have this evening.
Thank you. Ms. McCarlton.
Hi. So as the city manager said, there's a lot that goes into how we purchase these shirts. And I think it's really important, and I note it every year that I'm here, but I think it's important to note why we purchase these shirts. We are the only community that does it in the way that we do it. And really what it is it's actually giving money back to the nonprofits and the community and these different boards that do wonderful things in Berkeley, and wouldn't be able to necessarily purchase up front the amount of shirts that we purchase. So it's a win for the city, it's a win for all of these groups, and I think it's really important to note that. So the city, again, works with the Cruise Fest Committee to purchase, and then the t-shirts and the merchandise is all sold by these groups that then, the money comes back to both the city and these groups. We've been doing it a long time now. I share a lot of the responsibilities for Cruise Fest and Dream Cruise, obviously with the committees, but also with Dan McMinn out of our Parks and Recreation Department, and we're excited for another year. We had the year off in 2020, which was really strange, and obviously we missed. We came back last year, had a great year, and we're looking forward to an even better year this year with Cruise Fest, Dream Cruise, and everything that goes with it.
Great. It is a really wonderful collaboration between the city and the various groups, so thank you for leading the chart, wearing all those hats. Any comments or questions from council? Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, as always, for the work, and please pass along our regards to the committee for all their hard work with this as well. Is there anything you can share in terms of the design? I know it's the imagery and oh, my seat almost fell over.
Oh, geez.
The imagery and logos. See how moved I was by this item? I was telling you guys earlier there. I got to push that button in.
Wheels are falling
Okay,
off the wagon.
so I get to have my redo now too. So, anything you want to share about the image, if you can, or you want to keep it a
Not
secret? That's
yet.
okay too. Keep it a
Not
secret.
yet. We're still, so the Dream Cruise board works really closely. They have a contracted merchandiser, and then they work with Ford, who is the sponsor of the Dream Cruise.
Right.
Ford's has not released the exact design yet, so we should be getting that any day now. So soon.
Well, very, very excited indeed, and I appreciate in years past that the group pretty much has already cleared their investment by the time Dream Cruise actually starts. So
That's
everything
true.
from that weekend on is all additional, like you said, to benefit the organization.
Yeah,
So,
that's absolutely true and great. All the pre-sales typically do that.
yep, and here's to another fantastic year
And good weather.
and good
Yeah.
weather.
Anyone else? Okay, Ms. Mitchell, will you please call the roll on M5722?
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Valani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes. M5722 has passed. Ms. Mitchell, please read item number 7 on tonight's agenda.
Motion number M5822, matter of considering an application to hold the County Oakland Irish Fest event 5 to 11:30 p.m. Friday, September 9th, 2022 on Robina Avenue, and 10 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. Saturday, September 10th, 2022 on 12 Mile Road from Buckingham to Wakefield. The event is hosted by the County Oakland Irish Fest, 3074 12 Mile Road, Berkley, Michigan 48072. Approval is conditional upon the submission of required items and documents prior to event dates. Council reserves the right to rescind the permit due to state and/or county health and pandemic protocols.
Is there a motion to approve M5822?
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Valani with support from Councilmember Hennon. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thank you very much. With the council's permission, the Irish Fest will be making its return after taking the same step that many community events had to take, and they did not hold the event in 2020 or 2021. But they have submitted a robust packet of information here. They've worked with our DPW, our Community Development Department, our clerk's office, as well as our Public Safety Department, all of which feel comfortable enough to make their recommendation to council to move forward. As noted in the motion, there are some pending items that they'll be turning in to us between now and the date, should council allow them to proceed past this point this evening. But the packet does include memos from department directors, as well as a layout, notes on the required TCOs, the application themselves, the sign-offs from the affected businesses. So we have no indication based on the packet that they've received that they would not submit any of the required information, and for that reason, we feel comfortable recommending approval this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgarten. I see we have Peggy Spilker here from the County Oakland Irish Fest. Would you like to, even if you wouldn't like to, would you please come to the microphone? Just in case, I know. In case any member of council has questions or comments for you.
Sure.
Oh, come on.
We're really excited.
All right, well,
Good.
so are we. Are excited to have, Councilmember Baker.
Of course, I do appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you again, Your Honor, for the moment. Is there anything that you could share in terms of publicity? Is there a website folks should check out? Any kind of
So we
thing
do
like that?
have a website that we're beginning to update. It's CountyOaklandIrishFest.org. We have a Facebook,
yep.
but it's gotten so complicated, I can't figure out how to work it, so I'm hoping to get somebody else to be able to do that
Sure.
part for me. But the web page I have, we're beginning to go for that. So we're just working on our sponsors and our vendors and getting our bands and Irish dancers and everything together. And the Friday night's going to be a Scottish night, so
Oh.
we've got Scottish dancers for the Friday night and pipe band and things. And so pretty much everybody who I've asked has said yes again. So we're very excited to do it. We've had little we've been at the Art Bash last year and this year, just like a little table, and everybody stopped by and said, "Oh, we're so glad you're going to be back." So
Good.
we're very happy to do it.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
So-
Thank you
Sláinte.
for all your yes.
Yes, sláinte.
For all your efforts.
So can we expect any traditional Irish food or beverages at this event?
Well,
One
we
and the
are
same.
going to be having traditional Irish beverages.
That's all we really wanted to know.
Yeah, yeah.
The American Legion has teamed with us again, and so they're going to have the beer tent on Robina, and they will also have Jameson's at the beer tent on Robina. We're hoping to have just a beer tent down further on the west end of the site, where we're going to have another stage, and we did that before the pandemic. That was the first time we did it, and that worked out pretty well. Made it more fun down at that end of the thing, having more entertainment down there, and so we're hoping to have like some street people like that are walking around doing fun things, and I think the children's event is the Berkley Chamber has been doing that, and they've done great fun events, and we haven't had to have inflatable buildings where they've just done creative things, and so they're going to be doing that for us again. And so I've just been wanting to make sure that we were good to go, and now we're going to go forward and get started moving with everything, and you'll start seeing the website being updated. So.
But not by you. Right.
But not by me.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for coming tonight and giving us a better picture, or at least a more vivid picture of what we can expect. Appreciate your efforts and all the time and energy that you put into this, Peggy. And I think of you every day when I go to work. When I see my little fairy door, I'm like, Peggy Spilker was here. Thank you.
You're welcome. If you know anybody else who wants to add a fairy door, I know, they always add that as one of the children's events.
Okay.
So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, no, that is. Thank you for pointing that out and mentioning it. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much.
Sure. And with that, Ms. Mitchell, will you please call the roll on M5822?
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Valani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes. M5822 has passed. Ms. Mitchell, will you please read item number 8 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M5922, matter of approving a Downtown Development Authority DDA event, trick or treat stroll and Monster Mash block party on Coolidge between 12 Mile Road and Catalpa Road, and on Dorothea Road between Coolidge and Alleyway from noon to 6 p.m. on Saturday, October 29th, 2022. Approval is conditional upon the submission of required items and documents prior to the event date. Council reserves the right to rescind the permit due to state and/or county health and pandemic protocols.
Is there a motion to approve M5922?
So moved, Your Honor.
Motion made by Councilmember Baker
Support?
with support from Councilmember Valani. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thank you very much. The DDA is hoping to marry the success of their Halloween events in the Berkley, the month of Berkley, with their successful downtown block parties into the event described in your packet here. So, as I'm sure the DDA director would do a far better job of describing the event itself, but from a process standpoint, we were able to work with, again, all the relevant departments. So this comes to you once again with a recommendation for approval from our downtown development, or of course the DDA, but also our Department of Public Service, as well as our Department of Public Works, both of which are enthusiastically ready to get out there and make some Halloween magic happen.
Mr. McGinnis.
Hi there, Mike McGinnis, Berkley DDA Executive Director. So as the city manager referenced, we had our first Berkley Nights in October of 2021, so we're bringing that back for a second iteration. And the vision is that downtown Berkley becomes a regional destination for the Halloween season. And this is really the crescendo, or sort of the exclamation point. It is intentionally the Saturday before Halloween, not on Halloween, not intentionally trying to fight with all those myriad plans that many families in Berkeley and beyond have. But making this a tradition. We were on the Saturday before Halloween this last year, and it had a massive turnout with what was, again, an experimental inaugural year, and the community responded so positively that we want to not only provide a safer opportunity for families to experience the downtown and experience the trick-or-treat stroll and the Monster Mash block party, but also to stage it with the intention of continued growth and expansion so that we become more and more the epicenter. We want our downtown to receive a lot of support, a lot of foot traffic, a lot of business for the entire Berkley season. And so the vision is not necessarily what you would expect traditionally of we're going to close a half mile and it's going to be like a full festival with a whole bunch of tents, but think more so as sometimes the concept is called complete streets or open streets, where sort of for the day the pedestrians have the run of the road. And that's really what Coolidge will look like. It'll be fully realized along the businesses on 12 Mile as well, but when it comes to the closure of the street, that's what we're pursuing. So that way the thousands, we do anticipate thousands of trick-or-treaters and their families are able to traverse safely, and just the positive expression of community, family, and candy in downtown Berkley can come together in a really positive way. There will be, of course, decor and themed activities that will be clustered along the route. And since we're at it, and since Dorothea doesn't have much other action, we figured, well, you might as well close that again, because it won't be really navigable otherwise, since
Sure.
we'll have the portion of Coolidge closed. Berkley, Michigan may have the highest per capita number of downtown festivals in the world, and it's a good thing. And so we certainly recognize that it does come with some, pressure and constraints to have this much of a thoroughfare down for the count, but it will be up for the count, just more so with pedestrian activity. And so we're really grateful for all the departments and the city leadership having that receptivity, because we were able to provide something really magical for the residents and for the businesses alike to mutually benefit. And what we're trying to do is come at it very early, have those plans, so that way we can dial it up even more dramatically for positive benefit for the downtown and the entire community.
Thank you. And I know we were just talking about approving the appointments to boards and commissions, and I know that the DDA is under your direction. It's a great group of volunteers that make these events happen. Certainly with you leading the charge, and there wouldn't be a DDA event without Mike McGinnis and the megaphone, or just his voice. So thank you for your creativity and your spirit and your enthusiasm for getting these things going and building on them too. I mean, you have great synergy with all the subcommittees on the DDA, and I'm just really grateful for that. And another thing that I meant to say the last time I read something that you had submitted, like, your printing is ridiculous. Like, it's so neat and amazing. So that's just a little aside, but I really do appreciate all that you do and the efforts of the DDA with these incredible events.
Thank you for that. And I want to give a shout out that resident Lisa Kempner, who you've just reappointed to the Planning Commission. She is the Planning Commission's liaison to the DDA, but has volunteered. And I believe that the kernel of the idea really originates with her, and we've been able to sort of nurture and let it grow. I want to acknowledge downtown business owner and resident Aaron Brick,
yes,
who is a member now of the board of directors, but has helped Berkley really cultivate into something powerful. And there are many dozens more volunteers. And that's an open invitation to the community that if you have other dynamic ideas that you've always wanted to be put into action, that's kind of this grassroots, bottom-up opportunity that the DDA can help cultivate. We have a whole month of activities planned, and for the sake of time tonight, I won't go into it, but that we are going to work to try and transform the downtown streetscape for the Berkley season as well, because it not only is it interesting and beautiful and aesthetically can have a high impact, but it just creates that more of a destination.
Sure.
And we want this seasonal destination to benefit the community for the month plus. And it really does start with Restaurant Weekend, where we're partnering with the Chamber. That'll be that last weekend of September, first weekend of October transition.
Well, that's great. Thank you. Any questions or comments from Council? Councilmember Price.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for all the work that you put into this. I'm a little sad that the bear won't be directing traffic again, but this is much safer for everyone. I'm just
The
curious.
Berkeley Bear, in the form of me for my Halloween costume, may be directing traffic on a safe routes of 12 Mile instead.
Okay.
you know.
Yeah, I look forward to that. If a group or an individual would like to contribute a cluster of games, crafts, decor, photo station, or some other talent to this event, who should they reach out to get involved?
I could be the quickest option, but if you know anyone that's already dialed into the DDA, feel free to, if it's comfortable, reach out to them. But I'm Mike McGinnis, Executive Director of the Berkeley Downtown Development Authority. The easiest email to remember is director@downtownberkeley.com. But mcginnis@berkleymich.net, and the direct dial of 248-658-3353. Or if you just see me downtown or an event, you can pull me to the side, including at the next block party on June 26th. The October 29th activity will be the next installment of our downtown block party series, where the Monster Mash was done last year on Dorothea, but now it'll be sort of with a larger footprint. And as we said, that trick-or-treat bonanza is going to be bananas. It's going to be great.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Councilmember Villani.
Given that last year was the first year for this event, I thought it was so well done, and we had so many children and families coming out. And despite my severe arachnophobia, I am willing to offer my talents running the spider flip station again, because it was that much fun. And also hope that you bring back the pet costume contest, because Bonnie is already planning to come back for a vengeance and win this year.
Very good. And I do want to acknowledge that essentially everyone on this dais volunteered at some part of the Berkeley season. So thank you for that, and thank you for signing up today. I jest. But yes, thank you very much for that offer.
Okay, and with that, Ms. Mitchell, will you please call the roll on M5922?
Price,
Yes.
Valani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes. M5922 has passed. Ms. Mitchell, will you please call the roll on, please read item number 9 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M6022, matter of authorizing Gallagher Benefit Services, Inc. for a human resource audit related to our current merit system of human resource management and administrative directives and workplace policies at a cost not to exceed $15,000. Funding has been allocated in the fiscal year 2022-23 contractual services consultant account 101-172-817-000.
Is there a motion to approve M6022?
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Villani with support from Councilmember Baker. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thank you very much. Whether people realize it or not, even our small town, it takes a team of about well over 100 individuals serving this public, making sure that the day-to-day operations of the city go off without a hitch, and make sure that we're properly implementing the vision set by this council. And so what my stated goal as the head of the administration is to make sure that we are adequately providing for each and every one of those individuals. We have not checked in with best practices in quite a while. This is our opportunity to go to an outside third party and say, hey, based on your experiences, your knowledge of the field, the industry, wonderful labor practices found across all sorts of public entities, how are we doing? It's the same premise that we take to our finances each and every year. We want to make sure that we're doing everything at the peak level that we possibly could be. And so over the course of the last year, as you know, we settled several labor contracts. We also updated our merit system. We want to make sure that we don't rest on those laurels. We want to make sure that we're continuing to have an outside set of eyes reviewing those procedures. So to that extent, I requested an allocation in the next upcoming budget. I'm grateful that council approved that, and we were able to task Mr. Mike Smith from my office to really see this process through. He was the one that went out, described what we were looking for, got a response to these requests for qualifications, and is really the reason why we're able to bring to you this evening the proposal to Gallagher and request approval on it. So as you see from the memo that he included in your packet, we did look at a couple different entities. Not only was Gallagher the most cost effective, but we already have an existing relationship. They help us but manage our health, vision, and dental benefits as well. So we know how good of a job they do. We know how robust their experiences are. And that's why we have no doubt in asking, help us work with these groups, because we know that they'll do a very good job in elevating our ability to provide for our employees.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgarten. Is there a representative here from Gallagher?
I do not believe so.
Okay.
No. Mm-mm.
Well, discussion from council? Questions for Mr. Baumgarten? Councilmember Baker?
Yes, please, thank you. Just wanted to, again, affirm that this is a really good idea. I'm glad that we're hopefully going to move forward with something like this, to just ensure that we're taking the best care we can of our employees, the folks that work so hard and help serve our community. So looking forward to this. This will be good.
Thank you. And I do believe we need to keep updating and you know, ascribing to best practices, and because we do want to continue a high level of service. So I think the timing is good, and I'm excited about you know, obviously I'm not doing the audit, but I'm excited that this is going to happen, and that, you know, we can put into practice hopefully some new things, and we'll know the kinds of things we're doing well and where we might need some improvement. So Ms. Mitchell, will you please call the roll on M6022?
Valani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes, M6022 has passed. Ms. Mitchell, will you please read item number 10 on tonight's agenda?
Ordinance number O322, matter of considering the first reading of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Berkley, Michigan to amend Articles 2 and 3 of Chapter 130 Vegetation of the City of Berkley Code of Ordinances to modify trees, bushes, and shrubs and noxious weeds, and to add Article 4 invasive species.
Is there a motion to approve O0322?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilmember Hennon
Support.
with support from Councilmember Gavin. I'm guessing both of you will
This item does come to you by way of the tree board, of which Councilmember Hennon is the liaison. Councilmember Hennon and City Attorney worked very closely with the tree board in bringing this forward to you this evening. So Councilmember Hennon is our resident expert on the topic for this evening.
Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, so the changes to the tree section were mostly tangent to our existing practices. The major addition was for invasive species, and the motivation was I saw some invasive trees in a business parking lot and called into code enforcement to enforce that, and found we had no enforcement mechanism for that. So while we don't have a major problem with invasives in Berkeley, that makes an even better reason to bring the law in now, so we can control them as they start to be introduced, and before they become a problem. As I drafted this, you know, I also though tried to make sure that there's safety valves to make sure that we don't cause an undue burden on any businesses or residents. And we'll see with our next agenda item, joining the Oakland County Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area. They help give me a lot of ideas for this, and they provide resources and help with implementation and education of programs like this, so we won't be going it alone. You know, so I don't expect this to generate a lot of new action, but it gives us the tools when we do see problems to get ahead of them before they become serious.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Councilmember Hennon or Mr. Baumgarten regarding this item? Okay.
Oh, I did actually have my own question for the city attorney. I think our original, what is before us has this as a misdemeanor.
Oh.
Checking. Yes.
Yeah.
The last page, page 14, section 4, penalty should be misdemeanors. And I believe, consistent with our updated practices and what we should be doing, that we would really want this to be a civil infraction instead of a misdemeanor.
And that is fine if that's the council's preference. Councilmember Hennon and I had a very brief dialogue about that last week. It's a perfect candidate for municipal civil infraction treatment if that's the council's desire. We've been trending that way in recent years when it comes to building and zoning and other types of you know, non-criminal types of violations. So if that's the council's druthers, we can easily make that change for your second reading.
Okay. Do we want to have discussion about everybody's good with that?
Good.
Okay.
Good idea.
Perfect. So we don't have to do anything to this tonight. It will be the second reading we need to change, or do we change this now?
Well, what I'm taking is kind of a consensus head nod that for second reading you'd like to see it come back with that. I think you
Okay,
can.
perfect.
I think you can accept this if it's the council's will. You can accept this for first reading, you know, with the understanding when it comes back it will have that one minor change, and
Okay.
then you can adopt it.
Everybody's good with that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Ms. Mitchell, will you please call the roll on O0322?
Baker,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennan,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Valani,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes. O0322 has passed. Ms. Mitchell, will you please read item number 11 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M6122, matter of adopting a memo of understanding with Oakland County Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area, SISMA.
Is there a motion to approve M6122?
Support?
Motion made by Councilmember Hennan with support from Councilmember Valani. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thank you, ma'am. As Councilmember Hennan mentioned, as we trend towards better management of our invasive species, it is good to know that we have the opportunity to join a cooperative of communities who likewise have the same issues, are able to trade best practices as well as some resources as well. Thankfully, joining them has a very low threshold. There's not even a secret handshake. We merely have to provide a memo of understanding to this body, and SISMA actually takes the step of providing us even a template for it. So if council approves this evening, we could craft that MOU, get it over to SISMA, and hopefully join the fold here. As we were putting together items for the agenda, we did hear from the Village of Beverly Hills. That letter was provided in your packet. Their favorable experience with the group. Also, Mr. Smith, who I referenced earlier, who works in our office, formerly was the city manager of the city of Clawson. They were a SISMA member. He likewise was city manager for Wolverine Lake as well. I believe they were one as well. Had very favorable experiences with both. And so in order to further prove how valuable this group would be, Councilmember Hennan took the opportunity to invite a member to come give a presentation for you this evening.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll keep it brief. My name is Ryan Dividoc. I'm the vice chair for the Oakland County SISMA Executive Committee. SISMA stands for Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area. So what is an invasive species? It's an organism that is non-native, whose introduction causes or is likely to cause harm to our economy, environment, and health. Why are they a problem? They have few natural competitors. Invasive plants can change soil chemistry, harm native plants and unbalanced ecosystems. They can harm wildlife. Invasive plants, some of them can damage infrastructure, showing you knotweed that can grow through concrete and asphalt. Phragmites is pretty common around here, although not in this community. If you recall, in 2012, there was a fire up on I-75, 160 some acres, shut down some businesses, or had to evacuate businesses and homes in the community. They can cause visual impediments, flooding, and so forth. So Oakland County SISMA, our job, we look to expand awareness of invasive species and seek to collaborate among various partners. We've received over $660,000 in grant funding since 2014. We have an invasive species management plan for the county, over 40 partner organizations. The map that I'm showing you here, all the highlighted communities in Oakland County are SISMA members. And so we're looking to add more in the southeast here. Members include 17 townships, 15 cities, 4 county agencies, 3 land conservancies, nonprofits, and various supporting partners. Last year, we had 34 workshops, webinars, presentations. We reached over 480,000 people through social media outreach, treated 250 acres of invasive plants, and we surveyed more than 2,600 acres of roads, trails, and parks. So membership benefits include priority when it comes to time for Oakland County Parks Recreation millage grants to be scored. We give a little bit more priority to Oakland, SISMA member communities. Participation in bulk contract that are going on throughout the county. We do a lot of we do the mapping and surveying for invasive species throughout the county. We can advise on best practices, contractor selection, hold invasive species trainings, involvement in grants. We have educational and outreach materials that we develop, collaboration with neighboring communities and other organizations. I wanted to highlight some of the invasives that may be in the area. The ones that we're kind of focused on: Japanese knotweed, the one that I showed that can grow through concrete and asphalt. We're seeing that more in the county. This is what it looks like up close. Grows into these thickets, and it can cause infrastructure damage. Other wood invasives that could be in the area include buckthorn, autumn olive, various honeysuckles, garlic mustard, Chinese yam, tree of heaven. So invasive species control protects public safety and property values. It requires long-term management, and mapping and monitoring invasive species helps identify problems and provides data for future grants and so forth. So to join, you sign a memorandum of understanding. There's a current version of it on our website. You designate 1 to 3 representatives to represent the city of Berkeley. Participation as a voting member requires attendance for at least 6 monthly meetings throughout the year. All the meetings have a remote option and are at 1 hour at the most, typically. For more information, you can visit the website, find us on Facebook and YouTube. I'll direct any connection to Emily Mezek, who is our SISMA field coordinator, and her email is provided there. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. Yeah.
So we have a very active gardening community in Berkeley.
Okay.
But how, for residents who may have an invasive species in their yard and may not realize it, how do you go about educating, spreading awareness, and even the proper removal of these species so that it's done, correctly and doesn't just continue to
exacerbate the problem?
Yes.
So number one, ultimately that person has to realize there may be an issue. So that's, if we can get that person to call in and consult with the SISMA, then they can actually go out and field verify that they actually have a problem, because sometimes there's some misidentification among plants or whatnot. So really just number one, if they recognize there might be a problem, just connecting with the SISMA, and we can come out and verify that there actually is an invasive.
Is there a charge for that service?
No. No, in fact, for membership, there used to be a charge. There is no longer a charge at all for membership.
Oh, and I meant for a resident who reaches out to SISMA
There's
asking
no
for somebody to
charge
come and
for that
check.
as well. No.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Dividak, for coming and giving us the presentation, and Councilmember Hennen for bringing this to light. We appreciate you being here, and it sounds like a great program. I'm excited for us to, assuming that this passes, for us to be part of this. Thank you so much. Ms. Mitchell, will you please call the roll on M6122?
Gavin?
Yes.
Hennen?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Villani?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes. M6122 has passed. Ms. Mitchell, thank you. Ms. Mitchell, will you please read item number 12 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M6222, matter of authorizing the city manager to sign the application for additional service credit purchase for Michael Hunyer, approving the purchase of 2 years of generic additional service credit. This purchase is allowed by the MAPE contract agreement dated 7/1/2021 through 6/30/2024 in the MERS plan document for active members. The total cost calculated by MERS included in the application for additional service credit is $21,733, and the city of Berkeley's share of that cost is $17,269.
Is there a motion to approve M6222?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilmember Price
Support.
with support from Councilmember Villani. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thank you very much. As mentioned in the motion, this is a benefit provided through the MAPE contract, which is approved by City Council as well as the local bargaining unit. Mike's application is a little bit unique from the ones that you've seen so far. Mike is the first one to actually have a date in mind, and it is coming up close. Mike has been a phenomenal employee for us. It's irrelevant to this application, but if you'll just allow me to say, Mike is an incredibly hard worker. He's just a fantastic person to be around. He's a resident of ours, and with a wonderful, wonderful family. We are really going to miss having him around. He is, if you've ever been to one of our events, whether it's large, small, dream cruise, all the way down to just, a single block party, Mike is like omnipresent. He's everywhere, making sure that that whatever needs to happen happens, and we're going to really miss Mike around here. 100%. So this application comes before you this evening. As you'll notice, it's a little bit different cost breakout than what we typically see. That is attributed to Mike being close to his retirement date. But we still value test each and every one of these and find that this continues to be a value to the community still. It's essentially cheaper to purchase this time now than what the cost would be to the city if the 2 years actually plays out on the calendar. So continue to be able to offer a mutually beneficial arrangement with ourselves as well as the members of the MAPE contract. This item does, though, come to conclusion with the end of this contract. So we opened a window that would allow this to happen, but it's one that will not exist past the conclusion of this particular contract. So thankfully, all of our existing employees, or at this point, the majority of them, have been able to take advantage of this, with several others considering it as well. But we do recommend approval, and you have a memo in your packet from the Finance Director, Mark Pollack, who's unable to be here this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgarten. Any questions from council? Ms. Mitchell, will you please call the roll on M6222?
Hennan,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Villani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes. M6222 has passed. Ms. Mitchell, will you please read item number 13 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M6322, matter of authorizing the city treasurer to place special assessment items onto the 2022 summer tax roll by parcel ID number, including unpaid invoices, unpaid sidewalk assessment balances from 2020, and delinquent water amounts, and to add a $20 administrative fee to those bills as allowed by city charter.
Is there a motion to approve M6322?
So moved.
Okay, motion made by Councilmember Gavin with support from Councilmember Baker. Mr. Baum. Oh, sorry. I thought I heard you.
Oh,
Sorry.
I'm happy to support
Okay,
you, but I think
sorry.
you did.
Councilmember Hennan supported that. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thank you. Again, Mr. Pollack's unable to be here this evening, but he did provide a memo outlining the three basic categories under which we bring this forward for you this evening. The first of which is unpaid water bills, and this is very specifically those that are over $600 or over $300, or those that have made no payments at all within the last 6 months. We did take a hiatus from rolling these as special assessment during the worst of the COVID pandemic, but it is now time to start to recoup these items and provide some sort of incentive to pay those bills in a timely fashion, because as you see from the breakout, the vast majority of our residents and businesses are doing just that. They're paying on time in an appropriate manner. We just need to look to recoup the final portion of it here. So That is the lion's share of the special assessments you see in front of you today. The second bucket of special assessments here are those for weed cutting. So our code enforcement officer does enforce anything 7 inches or above in line with the state statute. And so in those situations, we give individuals ample opportunity to come out and maintain their own property. There are times where we cannot contact the property owner, or we found that the property owner is unresponsive, and at that point, we enforce the community standard of keeping the lawn cut to a reasonable level. As you note, that is a very small amount, just $345.80, which is, if we can look back to, 10 years ago, you'll see that number has come down quite a bit. Again, the vast majority of the members of our community are doing exactly what we ask them to, and are maintaining their properties to the proper community standard. The last bucket of this is we continue to work through our sidewalk program. And so this isn't anybody who is willfully not paying their taxes or not applying their invoices. These are individuals that, as planned, as adopted by council, did receive the benefit of utilizing economies of scale to get multiple flags of sidewalk replaced. And so now we're just moving those to the special assessment, as we mentioned, as we've been talking about now for, I think, almost 4 years at this point. So these are individuals, some have decided to pay the entirety of the invoice up front and not allow it. But for those that are taking full advantage of the program, we'll roll over balances across 2 and 3 years at a time in order to keep the cost manageable to them. So again, a great mutual benefit to the city, because we get the benefit of having smoother sidewalks, free of trip hazards, and our residents get the benefit of, instead of having to find somebody, pay whatever exorbitant amount comes out, they just get to jump in on the city's existing program. So it really is a win-win. And for those are the 3 broad categories. You'll see Finance Director Pollack has provided a breakout for each one, as well as parcel numbers and addresses for each.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgarten. Any questions or comments from council? Councilmember Hennon.
Yeah, as I followed up on the water rate side of it seemed very high, and as I followed up, it turns out that probably about 30% of our water rate payers just do not pay and allow it to roll over to their taxes, even though it increases their costs by about 12%. And so while we recoup most, maybe all of that, it's still extra staff time that they could be doing instead of chasing down these payments. So it's not for tonight, but I would like us to consider that we increase those late penalty fees to try and encourage on-time behavior or on-time payment to free up staff time. But at the same time, want to make sure we continue to educate residents on the programs we already have available when there really are legitimate economic reasons that they can't pay on time, and that we have a method to help those individuals out.
Thank you. Councilmember Price.
I guess I have a follow-up question for that that maybe our city manager could answer. I'm curious about the $20 fee. How is that fee calculated? Does it recoup the staff time that's spent on this process?
That is a number that's set by ordinance, and we do feel that it does. We're at the line, but it does cover those costs. There's not a ton of staff time. A lot of our processes, we utilize BSNA. We're able to automate a lot of these programs. So that program runs a lot of these lists for us. We can set the parameters, run reports. But it doesn't seem to be an incentive to pay any earlier. It very clearly just hits the bare minimum of the staff time involved.
Okay. Access to clean water, it's a basic right, and of course it has charges. I would want to make sure that we are accommodating and recouping the amount that it costs staff, but I would not support going above that amount. Thank you.
And if I may.
Yes.
You bring up a very important point here. The city, for the large part, does not shut off water in response to unpaid bills, largely with the access in mind. This is the way that we recoup those costs, because there are costs associated with delivering clean water. But we have largely taken the approach of not denying access
I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
Councilmember Gavin.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, I kind of want to ask a question about building out the education side of it and kind of looking a little bit further down. You know, I tend to think that as much as I want to make sure we're careful with staff time and everything like that, being able to collect anything owing before it gets turned over as delinquent to the county treasurer's office does end up saving a resident a fair amount of money. There are a lot of state law fees that are quite high, and it really does get fairly onerous fairly quickly. And so I think that, you know, again, not for tonight in terms of what a game plan might be, but trying to help step up any of the collection efforts associated with that to kind of save some of that money on the back end for a resident.
And we do encourage individuals to pay whatever they can. Just get some kind of payment in there.
Yep.
We do also partner with, it's changing now, but we're a participant in the RAP program as well, which covers several different communities within the Gleewall footprint. So we do try as many diversionary tactics as possible to keep anybody from getting to this point. But at some point, we just need to recoup those costs.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anyone else? Yes, Attorney
Mayor
Sterin.
Pro Tem, if I can just jump in for a minute. We will certainly, I will certainly work with the city manager and look into Councilmember Hennon's question about whether there is something we can or should do to further incentivize people to pay without running afoul of both statutory and constitutional limitations, or turning this into a punitive situation, but rather, you know, making sure that it's proportionate to the city's administrative costs of moving ahead. But I just kind of wanted to latch on to something that Council Member Gavin was saying, and he would certainly know about the county process given his his prior position with the county. That's no picnic, and that certainly is a disincentive, a very strong disincentive to let your water bills go delinquent, because once we put them on the tax rolls, our tax rolls, and they don't get paid, then they get turned over delinquent to the county. County pays the city through the revolving fund, but now the county adds on additional fees, and ultimately people can lose their property over this. I mean, ultimately, if these charges as well as any delinquent taxes aren't paid, property's going to go up for tax foreclosure. So there are a lot of good reasons to pay your water bills on time. It only gets a lot more expensive and a lot higher risk when you don't.
Thank you, Mr. Sterin. Anyone else?
It's all right. I'd be remiss if I did not say that the current county treasurer, Robert Wittenberg, and his staff do a fantastic job of making sure that there are not foreclosures. I mean, there are a lot of state programs, to Councilmember Hennon's point, that there can be a lot of assistance out there, and payment agreements that can be reached if you contact the treasurer's office. So, yeah, I mean, there is a lot of help out there, but certainly trying to get in front of it makes it a lot easier.
Sure.
So, thank you.
Sure. Ms.
A lot of you
Mitchell,
yelled at.
please, because you would have, please call the roll on M6322.
Price,
Yes.
Valani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes. M6322 has passed. Ms. Mitchell, please read item number 14 on tonight's agenda.
Resolution number R1422, matter of approving a resolution of the Council of the City of Berkley, Michigan, establishing the policy and guidelines for granting an exemption from payment of property taxes.
Is there a motion to approve R1422?
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Gavin with support by Councilmember Price. Mr. Baumgarten.
Hi there very much. Berkley was one of several communities that received a notice about middle of last week letting us know that we had to rather quickly amend the resolution that we had adopted in the year previous in order to be able to continue to hold our Board of Review meetings. You see in the memo, or the email itself was provided to council. There's a section in there, specifically section 9, that was adopted that required ownership of property. The county is saying we have to remove that in order to proceed forward in allowing our residents to appear before the Board of Review. So this is largely a housekeeping item that comes to us by way of the county equalization, who serves as our assessors. And Sarah does a fantastic job. She always is looking out for the city and provides our on-site services as the staff liaison to the Board of Review. So we appreciate that she gave us a heads up. As you note in the email, this had to be done before July 15th, which really only left us about 6 days to respond to that, given our meeting schedule. So thankfully, we were able to get this in front of you quickly.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgarten. Questions or comments from council? Councilmember Gavin.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just something very quickly. We had talked about previously when we'd have this discussion as a council with regards to hardship exemption from property taxes, increasing the limit, the federal limit, up to 150% of the federal guidelines. And so I just was hoping to make an amendment to change Section 6, which it would essentially read the applicant's total household income cannot exceed 150% of the most current federal poverty guidelines. And just kind of keeping that in line with the discussion this council had when we had previous discussion on this issue.
You're good with that, Mr. Richmond?
I have no problem with that. I think that is the intent of the current Section 6, but Councilmember Gavin's suggested changes maybe make that even clearer. So I don't see any problem with that.
Thank you. Councilmember Hennon, did you have a question or comment?
Yes, I remember our discussion about this, and some of it was instead of a cliff, there being where if you make $1 over the threshold, you then can get no relief. We had talked about a phase out. My understanding was that we are unable to do that. And so I support what you propose. I don't know if it's allowed. That's my concern. So, but yeah, but I also wanted to bring up that, we had talked about a phase out instead of a cliff, but that one isn't in the cards. We're not able to do that.
So we can't adopt the standard, but we are adopting the 150% as a cliff, unfortunately. We can't say 150 yields a 25% reduction, 200% as a 50% reduction, 250 would, step down from there. But setting it at 150 of the standard does put some cushion on that cliff, which might be a nice middle ground to what we had discussed previously and what council discussed broadly when they adopted the ordinance or resolution previously.
And I fully support that, both because it gives more relief and it will scale over time instead of a fixed amount.
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other questions or comments? Okay, Ms. Mitchell, will you please call the roll on R-1422?
Valani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes. R-1422 has passed. Ms. Mitchell, will you please read item number 15 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M6422, matter of authorizing the amendment of the 2021-2022 budget as presented.
Is there a motion to approve M6422?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilmember Baker,
Support.
support from Councilmember Hennon. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thank you. Mr. Pollack, again, provides a very detailed analysis of the state of the budget. As he put in his memo, there are some significant movements associated with largely capital projects that we're having to delay, some costs associated with personnel, but largely, as you see from the general fund, we continue to stay above the 25% minimum threshold adopted by council. That number is very important to us. It was a significant part of our discussions during the budget work sessions. We continue to, as a staff, at the staff level, ensure that we are being as mindful of the public's resources as completely possible, while still maintaining the high level of service that people are accustomed to in our community. So Mark's provided you with quite a bit of information, not only just like a larger narrative portion of it, but a line-by-line analysis of items that are slated to change. And he does that by working with each of our department directors, who are very responsive, and that's how this item comes before you this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Baumgarten. Questions or comments from council? Okay. Ms. Mitchell, will you please call the roll on M6422?
Baker,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Hennon,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Valani,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes. M6422 has passed. Ugh, communications, I have no idea where we are.
Councilmember Gavin.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Your Honor. Couple things, Planning Commission next meets on June 28th at 7 PM here in council chambers. Environmental Advisory Committee met last week and discussed some EV infrastructure, federal funding, and some green infrastructure. And then the next meeting will be at 6:30 on July 21st on the second floor of the Public Safety Building. Definitely want to welcome all the new and returning members of both EAC and Planning Commission. Certainly your willingness to serve the city you call home is commendable. It's deeply appreciated. And the city's success wouldn't be possible without you, as many others have already said today. She did give me okay to say this, so I'm not doing any breaking news or anything. But while I'm sad to see Kristen Kapelansky go as chair of the Planning Commission, I am delighted to say that she's only going to be moving down just to a different table here in the council chambers and taking the job as our new community development director. Her ability to communicate complex issues, bring fresh ideas and insight, and really exciting ideas, frankly, really is only surpassed by her love and dedication to Berkeley and sound planning practices. So thank you, Kristen, for your incredible work on Planning Commission, and thrilled that you'll be joining the staff to kind of keep that positive work going. So, and then lastly tonight, I know we read something from Marty tonight. But I also just kind of want to say thank you to him for all his years on the Planning Commission. Marty's expertise, his thoughtfulness, his willingness to honestly question the many applicants that do come before the Planning Commission really improved endless projects and the city as a whole. I learned a lot personally watching Marty prepare and analyze site plans, ordinances, et cetera, and certainly will miss his monthly contribution to Planning Commission. I know that he will only be a phone call away, and I expect his phone will ring often, but,
But not his cell phone.
Not his cell phone, yeah, only home. So, thank you, Marty, for all your years of service and the dedication you've shown Berkeley and all of our neighbors. So, that's it for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Villani.
No updates from the TAC committee. The next meeting will be July 13th at 7 p.m., and that will be aligned with the CEAC meeting for some projects that they will be working on together. From the Berkeley Area Chamber, there's a reminder that the Street Art Festival is on July 16th, and you can still register now to become one of the featured chalk artists with a 5x5 square. Cruise Fest t-shirts from the Chamber for the August 19th Cruise Fest. If you would like to sponsor those, you must be a Chamber member, but you will receive recognition on that annual shirt. Reach out for more information. And then also with the Pride Block Party this Sunday, many of the businesses are sponsoring related activities, including drag queen entertainment, amongst some other items. And just kind of following up, especially since I was unable to be here in person last week and hearing from so many of our residents. We heard a lot about love today, about self-love, about familiar love, about romantic love, brotherly love, and just genuine love. I believe that love is the most powerful and beautiful emotion out there, and it is what was at the heart of tonight's public comments. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge Evan and Claire, two young commentators, for their bravery and voice, as that is an inspiration to all of us. And I truly hope that long before you are able to vote, you will no longer have to speak up like this. When we think about safety, love and belonging, and esteem, pride, those are foundational blocks of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And we know that those are not guarantees for our LGBTQIA friends and neighbors, as evidenced this evening. Thank you to everyone who came out tonight and spoke or supported others who shared their story with us. As a heterosexual, cisgendered woman who has not had to fight the battle that many of you have, I am humbled to have you share your experiences with us. I'm also angry that we must continue to have these conversations. As an ally, I am thankful for the grace of the LGBTQIA+ community in continuing to educate and inform myself and other allies. You have my pledge of continued support, advocacy, mom hugs, and even a bowl of pasta anytime you need it.
Councilmember Hennon.
Yes, the Zoning Board of Appeals approved to increase a sign allowance for the tenants of the Aquatops building. The failing in our current sign ordinance is that it's unreasonably restrictive for large multi-tenant buildings, and this is one of the largest commercial buildings to come into the city in recent years. Aquatops also shared that they expect to open in about 2 months and are already taking sign-ups for swim classes. The ZBA also wanted me to share that a lot of their recent cases have been related to our sign ordinances and its need for an update. I did inform them we're aware of it, we've discussed it, but unfortunately with other priorities, it may be a little bit of time before we can get to it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Price.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Dean. I will keep my comments brief this evening. I have no reports from any of my committees. I, like Councilmember Villani, simply want to thank the residents who showed up and spoke up tonight, or showed up in support of those who spoke up, in support of our inclusive and welcoming community. We've heard that having an inclusive and welcoming community saves lives, and I'm proud to be a part of one. LGBTQIA+ community members are safe, they are supported, they are welcomed, and they are celebrated here in Berkeley. I hope everyone will come as you are to the first ever Pride Block Party on Sunday, June 26th, and I will look forward to celebrating you there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Baker.
The Historical Committee wants to thank everyone who visited their booth at the Art Bash recently. And I, in turn, would like to thank the volunteers of the committee and more broadly for those involved in the Art Bash for making such a terrific event happen. The museum hosted the May Chamber Chat meeting, which was great to kind of showcase one of our lovely facilities here to a great group of folks. And the museum layout and displays have been completely redesigned as history marches on. So it's a great opportunity to come back and visit. The museum is open most Wednesdays from 10 to 1 and Sundays from 2 to 4. And you can also visit them online at berkleyhistory.com. I too missed the meeting last time, and so I will just offer a few thoughts as well. I was deeply moved by the thoughtful comments and sharings this evening. And as Brian Tracy once said, the greatest gift you can give to others is the gift of unconditional love and acceptance. And yeah, let's all remember that that nobody's being forced to accept anything that is against their beliefs. And the Berkeley that I love does not make other people's lives harder because of who they are. The Berkeley that I love does not turn others' daily lives into battlegrounds. The Berkeley I love does not force anyone to accept a single thing. The Berkeley I love does not terrorize or deprive people. I very much look forward to the Pride Bash coming up here in just a little bit of time. Again, it's from 12 o'clock noon until 4 p.m. on Rabina, just north of 12 Mile. I'm very happy to stand in support of this event and all the tremendous people that will be there and help share this love. Berkeley is becoming an even more welcoming and inclusive community, and we all have a role to play in giving the gift of unconditional love and acceptance. And as always, please stay safe, everybody, and hug somebody you love. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thank you very much. A couple things for council and for the community this evening. This week is slated to be another hot one with temperatures in the mid to upper 90s throughout the week. I want to thank the library as well as the community center last week who opened their doors and their air conditioning to anybody who needed such relief. They intend to do so this week as well. So keep an eye out on the social media outlets or just pop in the community center, the library. at the library, there's always something fantastic to do. And you can do it now underneath a cool breeze from the air conditioning if you'd like. So please keep that in mind. It's not worth sweltering at the home if you don't have an opportunity to seek some sort of comfort. Heat can be very dangerous. People don't realize every year it causes a lot of pretty significant injuries to people. And so we're out here to, once again, extend a helping hand to those that need it. And this week is also the week of the Dad's Club Summer Classic. So throughout baseball fields throughout the community, you'll hear cracks of bats and the cheering of young baseball players. Anybody who's interested, come out. The city provides these fields for a reason. They are open to anyone and everyone who wants to come see some fantastic baseball being played, as our local teams take on individuals and teams from all over across Metro Detroit and Michigan as a whole. Last but not least, this is our last meeting before July 1st, so I want to say happy fiscal new year to everyone. It's a very special time around our office. We sing songs and set off fireworks and have all sorts of good times. But for those that aren't aware, the city's fiscal year ends June 30th of each year, and then we start anew with plans and visions and all sorts of goals and aspirations for the following 12 months, and that starts every year in July. Any individual who's curious about where our priorities are can merely look to our budget and see where we invest our resources. I think it does as good a job as any words can do on talking about what matters to our community most. And so you can find that on our website. It's also available in any of our buildings as well. So good things are coming, and again, Happy New Year.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney.
Well, seeing that this is our last council meeting before for the month and before Independence Day, it's time for my annual public service announcement, a reminder about fireworks. With Independence Day, it's the American tradition, fireworks, right? They kind of go hand in hand. And although Michigan law was loosened several years, really a number of years ago now, it's certainly not the wild, wild west. I mean, there are some important limits as to fireworks safety. Only consumer fireworks are allowed to be shot off or possessed by unlicensed people. You can't go get the heavy commercial grade or in some cases it sounds like military grade fireworks to explode. Only the consumer grade, which is typically the ones you can buy, locally at the stores. There are limits as when you can use them too. This year you're only allowed to shoot off the fireworks from Wednesday, June 29th, which is next week already, Wednesday, June 29th through July 4th, and only between the hours of 11 a.m. and 11:45 p.m. And as always, never while you are under the influence of intoxicating spirits or substances, and not on public property, not in the streets, not on school property, and not on anybody else's property that you don't have permission to be on. So just best wishes for everybody to celebrate celebrate our American holiday, but do it safely and do it prudently.
Thank you. I have just a few updates. I know Councilmember Baker mentioned the Art Bash and how incredible that was. Also on that same day was Lids for Kids, and our Public Safety Department does an incredible job of providing bike helmets to any child that wants or needs one, and it's just a very fun, festive event. Congratulations to Maddie Watts and the Berkley High School class of 2022. Maddie is the recipient of the Berkley Scholarship for Public Service. So congratulations, Maddie, again, and we look forward to seeing you perhaps in this council chamber someday. Parks and Recreation has some great stuff coming up. The first concert in the park is June 22nd at Community Park at 7 p.m. The Royal Oak Concert Band and the Woodward Avenue Jazz Orchestra will be filling the air with their incredible music. On July 13th at 7 p.m., again, Community Park, Miss Paula and the Candy Bandits will be there. And it's, according to Teresa, it's great kids' music to dance to. Community Park is still behind the community center. I just feel like I have to point that out again. For more information on summer programs, concerts, or movies in the park, check out recreation.berkleymich.org. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
Motion to adjourn made by Councilmember Baker with support from Councilmember Villani. Ms. Mitchell, will you please call the roll?
Hennan,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Villani,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Dean.
Yes, the June 20th, 2022 meeting of the 39th Council of the City of Berkeley is adjourned.